Hello and welcome to another camera review. Today I'm going to be talking about the Canon's latest camera, EOS 6D Mark II. Now this is a revision on the previous camera that was a 6D, but we're looking at the specs, and the specs are far more than disappointing. They are shameful, because you look at what the technology is at the current times, what you can buy for that money, and you look at what it's offering, it is plain shameful. And I'll tell you what it is. First of all, we look at the technology. They have DX 7, which is a very nice sensor. That's not a problem. It shoots at 26.2 megapixels. That's also nice, because a lot of the cameras right these days, the APS-Cs are shooting 24. So full frame 26, it's okay. We can work with those numbers, but it's not magical. It's not like 42 megapixels or 50 megapixels, even 36 megapixels. It's manageable megapixels. Now, what is sad is a lot of the people, a lot of the consumers are buying their cameras, especially Canon cameras, and hoping to do filming. They used to do that with 5D Mark IV, Mark III, and it was a very successful line. Now, we're looking at 6D. And who are they marketing for? They're marketing for the new purchasers of cameras there, the ones who want to buy an entry-level full-frame camera. But what do they also want? This is the younger generation. They want to be able to film. And what do they offer? Full HD. Goodness sake, that is what? Some 5 years ago, they started doing this, full HD. Now the technology has moved to 4K. You look at what Sony is offering, A6500 shoots 4K. Everything else shoots 4K. And you're looking at Canon dragging their feet, hoping that they can sell a $2,000 camera. Now look at this $2,000. You can buy a GH5 and shoot 4K 10-bit, and you can also do photography, which is very fine. 24, 26 megapixel cameras can be had for that. And you know, this camera should not be priced over $1,000. It should be entry level, $800, $900. But you're charging $2,000 plus tax and hoping that you're going to capture a market. That is plain stupid. And plus the build and the quality of it is plasticky. It is plasticky. It has nothing that is beautiful and solid to it. And for me, what I want to see is I want to see a camera that can deliver quality that rivals what Sony is producing. Quality that rivals what Panasonic is producing. And what we are seeing is this very weak camera. Now, people say, I want to just do photography. Okay, let's take the photography side. How many points does it have? It has less than 50, 49, 50. What is that? What is that? That is horrible. That means you're going to have a very hard time getting autofocus. You're going to have less detection points. And what do other companies offer? I mean, Nikon offers 133, and other companies offer like almost close to 500. When you look at Sony, 45 is a joke. That's the technology that's like 6-7 years old. And I'm surprised that Canon is bringing this out, rolling this out and saying, this is the camera we are offering for the 2017, the new buying thing. But it's a joke. And I know they're going to fail at it. They're going to fail the way they failed for the 5. And 5 was a failure. In my point of view, that was a failure. And the numbers are going to show for it. And they're going to go in the same direction Nikon has went. Nikon has been dragging their feet, insisting they're not going to put a 5 technology that is higher than the 5 they have, D5. And you know what? D5 has very, very bad dynamic range. It has terrible video capabilities. It has poor quality build that was compared to what they had in D4S and D4. And you know what? Professionals demand quality. They want to have the dynamic range so you could play with it. And this camera, 6D Mark II, has no dynamic range. Read my lips. It has no dynamic range. Look at the images. They're going to say, wow, that's a great image. Well, perfect lighting, yeah, you can make any picture look good. You take it to Photoshop, you can make it look good. But if you are out there photographing, first of all, you have very little face detection system, 45. And then what happens? You go out there, you're trying to photograph, you miss the shot because it doesn't autofocus, and you spend $2,000 on it. And then you go home and you're going to put it onto your computer. Hopefully you're getting something good. And then you find out that the highlights are blown out. You can't bring out anything from the image because there's no dynamic range. Or you shot something that was a little darker and then you don't have dynamic range. And you know what? Full HD does not cut it anymore. Full HD is a joke. That is the technology they used to have. Now, the technology requires 4K. Why? Because the televisions are 4K, the screens are high quality, and people are watching it want the good technology. They want the good quality. And YouTube, believe it or not, is demanding high quality. I recently submitted a film to Netflix. Netflix said, is your film 4K? Because that's what they want to show. Because you watch anything on HD, the quality is not that good if your TV is showing 4K. So now, think about it. You are going to use a camera. You're probably going to be indie filmmaker, right? You want to try that. You want to do some filming. You want to do vlogging. Well, what 4K would be wonderful. That's why you see every video that I make is in 4K. Even though you may not watch it in 4K, it is there. In case you want to go home and watch it on your big screen, it's going to give you that quality. And I tell you this, with the technology that it is in now, unless they pull their shit together, excuse my language, they are not going to have a camera that is going to be competitive to either Panasonic's lineup or to Sony's lineup. And that's why Sony is saying, you know what, I don't have to bring out the Sony A7 Mark III, because if the competition was high, they would have brought it out in March and April and May and have the people buy it. Now they're holding off till November so that, they can suck off more from the market. But I tell you something. If you cannot compete as a company brand with these giants that are already taking over, it's going to change this landscape. Now you think that, having a Canon 1DX Mark II is going to be the competition to Sony A9. You look at the specs on Sony A9, you're blown out of the water. 20 frames per second compared to 10, 11 with the Nikon and Canon. You look at the number of phase detection points, that's far more phenomenal. And you know what? It delivers a higher quality. It delivers a better dynamic range. And more importantly, you can use both Nikon and Canon lenses, and Canon lenses focus just as fast as the Canon cameras. So you're not losing anything. Plus, you got this whole lineup of lenses that are being produced by Sigmas and Zeiss. And Zeiss, especially with their quality optics, is going to really push the market in the right direction. So what we're going to see is people selling their Canon gear, Nikon gear, and moving to Sony lineups. Or saying, you know what, I sell the camera and I buy this new technology that Sony is releasing, or GH5. And people might say, you're being too hard on Canon. Canon has been the workhorse for professionals for many years. Yes, this is what I'm shooting on Canon 1DC right now. How much did I pay? $18,000 when it came out. $18,000. Last thing they were selling for $5,000. It shoots 4K, right? Now this is discontinued. And do we have a Canon 1DC Mark II? No. No, it doesn't have. And they're expecting you to buy C100, which only shoots HD. It is a joke. If you are in the filmmaker, you're not going to have latitude to work with. I'd rather buy a C500, put a nice Odyssey 7Q on it, and shoot RAW. than buy a C300 Mark II and pay a huge price for it. And you know what? I have no issues buying a camera that's old, as long as it performs in the quality limitations that I've set. And I ask you this question. If you're gonna go out and buy 60, you're gonna spend $2,000. Isn't it about time you look into other cameras? I mean, I would buy a second-hand 5D Mark IV or Mark III that is gonna deliver me a much better performance than the 6D. What was Canon thinking about? And think about it. The specs there, they don't add up. They don't add up. Not the phase detection, not the 26 megapixel sensor, nor does it add up for the HD quality. So what are you delivering? What do you bring to the table and saying, this is my product, this is what I'm going to sell? You know, you're not competitive price-wise either. So why should they buy your 6D Mark II? Sounds great to the ear, Mark II. And you know what? This is not the only company doing it. Look at Leica. Leica had Leica T, and they rolled out Leica TL. They put an L at the end. So you look at the specs, it's the same freaking camera. Nothing changed. They had Leica SL for, 3 years now. They haven't produced anything. They're expecting, professionals are going to switch to that camera. Well, they're not going to switch to that camera. First of all, it's mirrorless, which a lot of professionals are hesitant about. Number two, you don't have the lenses. So this is the problem with a lot of these companies that have had the market lead. They had their own small niche and they can't just grow out of it. I mean, the thing that Leica is all about is the Leica M camera that is manual focus. Nobody wants to use that except, a few enthusiasts. And I've had friends who come and say, I wish it had autofocus because I cannot nail it at a 1.4 or at 0.95. Of course you can't, because the subject has to be stationary and you have to dial in perfectly. Even then, you're not assured of perfect focus because it's such a shallow depth of field. In the same way, the Canon is. Canon has had the market lead for many, many years, and they had the market lead for producing cameras that were used for wildlife photography, sports photography. But the landscape is changing. And what do they bring out to the market? They bring out to the market a camera like 6D Mark II. And hoping that the 2000 price range is going to be good. And one of the things that makes me very, very mad and sad about Canon cameras, I'm not talking about lenses, cameras. They come out, they charge this huge price, like $16,000 for the C300 Mark II. And 3 months later, the price drops to $12,000. What happened? The guy who bought it first, he's down for $4,000. Now he tries to sell it. They're going to say, okay, well, you know what? Your camera is usually going to go for $8,000. He lost half the value of his camera. It should not be that way. It should be that when you buy a camera, the camera holds its value, and when you sell it, you only lost 25-30% after 3 years. That's not the case. That is not the case. Now, I will tell you this much. If you bought the Canon 1DC, in the second-hand market for $3,500, and it's a very, very high-end professional camera that records 4K, and used it for 3 years, you could easily sell it for $2,800. You only lost $700. But buy a 6D and see what happens. In 3 months' time, the price drops to $1,600, and then 6 months' time, it's dropping down to $1,400, and then you try to sell your camera, they're going to give you $1,000. You lost $1,000, 50% of the value of the camera. This is what I call about investments. This is what I call making an investment. Now, we could talk a lot about this stuff, but what I will talk to you about in my next review is how the other cameras are going to perform with regards to the new cameras that are coming out in the Sony lineup. And that is going to be a major issue, a major important development in the camera industry. So I thank you for watching. Please visit our website at camerareview.ca. Come to our workshops. I will give you a lot of information about how to use these cameras well. And also sign up to our YouTube channel as we can bring you more and more reviews. Thank you for watching.